Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Today we will present what we learned in book with title Noteworthy Reading Strategy with use SQ3R strategy. Survey, question, read, recite, and review. The first strategy in pre-reading is survey. Survey means look all over the books to get general information. And what we got in survey, the first we got the book discuss reading strategy for student and academic reading, and then it teaches reading how to become critical and active readers. And next, the book explains strategy for pre-reading, reading, reviewing, annotating, vocabulary building, and critical reading. And the book also connects reading skill with reading skill. And the last, it contains learning outcomes, tip, activities, key term, and capture summaries. Next slide. Okay, the book explains the first is strategy for read academic text and informative text, narrative text, relationship between reading and reading, and then annotating. Next, critical reading, vocabulary building, and the last is strategy for reading, and reviewing. And on chapter 1 is introduced to strategic reading. We can see sub chapter. The first is reading strategy, and then research and critical reading part 1, and then annotations. Next, chapter 2. Okay, in chapter 2 is reading informational text. We can see research and critical reading part 2, and then text person ideas, not absolute truth, and then reading is rhetorical acts, and then active readers look for connection between text. And the next is use feedback on your reading, and then overview, typical challenge, and recommendation, or student revision example and conclusion. And next, for chapter 2, is reading narrative text. You can see storytelling, narration, and we can see structure in narrative text like introducing, or we can analyze narrative theory or storytelling in the professional world. And next, chapter 4. Okay, the chapter 4 is reading academic text. We can reading a journal or paper, and then we can see or we can learn an overview for academic article, identifying the part of an academic article, and strategy for reading scholar search. And next, the last chapter is the reading and reading connection. We can connect reading and reading, and we can see first is research and critical reading party, and then from reading to reading, how to use reading and reading. And critical readers understand the difference between reaction and responding to a text. And then critical reader research offers simplified binary responses. And next, critical reader do not read alone and in silence. We can see strategy for connection, reading, and reading, and one critical reader's path to creating meaning, and case study advice for critical reading. So this is survey for the book for pre-reading to get general information, and then we can next to question.
So, today I want to presentation SQ3R focus on the questions text. Okay, next page. Chapter 1 Strategic Reading. I made questions by observing and reading the titles of Chapter 1. Based on what I read from the titles, I found 10 questions. Number 1. What is meant by reading strategies in this book? Number 2. What are the key features of critical reading and annotations? Next, Chapter 2 Informational Text. I made questions by observing and reading the titles of Chapter 2. Based on what I read from the titles, I found test questions. Number 1. How can I treat reading as a two-way conversation through rhetorical reading? Number 2. How does using feedback effectively improve my writing process? Next, Chapter 3 Narrative Text. I made questions by observing and reading the titles of Chapter 3. Based on what I read from the titles, I found test questions. Number 1. How does how does narrative theory help us analyze the structure of a story? Number 2. Why is it important to avoid spoilers and not reread too much of a story? Next, Chapter 4 Academic Mastery. I made questions by observing and reading the titles of Chapter 4. Based on what I read from the titles, I found test questions. Number 1. How do the abstract and headings help it identify the parts of an academic article? Number 2. What is meant by social reading and discussing text with others? Next, Chapter 5 Reading Writing. I made questions by observing and reading the titles of Chapter 5. Based on what I read from the titles, I found test questions. Number 1. What is the difference between responding to a text and simply reacting to it? Number 2. How do directive verbs help in interpreting a new writing assignment? Next. So that's all about SQ3R about question. So next is presentation about read.
So, I wanted to talk about important and interesting information in the read stage. Next slide. Reading must be active. The book explained that academic reading is not just ordinary reading, but also become active reading. Need to pay attention to idea, read question, make notes, contact the text with their own experience. Next slide. Understanding the material. Reading helps readers understand material it is to complete assessment, answer questions, affect good result. Reading is not only about finishing tasks, but also about truly understanding information. Next slide. Offensive reading strategy. The book intonation, asking question while reading. Readers are encouraged to ask a question such as what, why, how, who. This make the reading process more interactive, more active, and more engaging. Next slide. Summarizing. Summarizing after reading. After finishing a text, readers should make a short summary. Summarizing helps readers remember important, understand the main idea, and review the material more easily. Next slide. The book explains that intonation or adding notes to a text can improve understanding, save reading time, and help readers remember important information. Annotation also help reading think critically about the text. Next slide. Conclusion. An important idea from this book is that the read process should be done actively. Readers should not only read the text but also ask questions, highlighting important information, take a note, and write summarize. Strategies such as intonation and summarizing help improve comprehension, retention, and critical thinking skill. That's for us. Thank you for attention.
Okay, I will recite about the book's reading strategy in practice. This book explains different reading strategy and how reading can help us understand the text better. Okay, chapter 1. Introduce the strategy reading. Talk about reading strategy. Reading is not only looking at words, but also understanding the meaning of the text. There are 3 important steps: pre-reading, reading, and reviewing. I also learned about critical reading and annotation. These strategies help readers understand and remember information more easily. Okay, next chapter, reading information text. Explain how to read information text like article and news. When reading, we should not believe all information immediately. We need to think critically and understand the writer purpose. This chapter also teaches us how to use feedback to improve our writing skill. Okay, next chapter, reading narrative text. Discuss narrative text or story. I learned that story can help people understand someone's experience and feelings. Storytelling is important in daily life and also in the professional world because story can connect people. Next chapter, reading academic text. Explain how to read academic texts such as journal and scholarly articles. I learned about important part of academic article like the introduction and conclusion. Good reading strategies can make academic texts easier to understand. Okay, the last chapter, the reading writing connection. Explain the connection between reading and writing. Reading helps us get idea and information for writing. I also learned that critical readers should think carefully and give logical opinions about texts.
The last point is review. Review of naughty reading strategy in practice. This final step to strengthen information retention and ensure deeper understanding. Point I use is reading, review the most important section, key point, and your notes or annotation. The second point is summarizing, write a short summary that highlight the main ideas of the text. The last is question evaluating. Revisit the question you create earlier to check whether they have been answered. The chapter 1 is Introduction to Strategic Reading. This chapter explains the importance of strategic reading to improve comprehension, engagement, and information retention. It introduced the three stages of reading: pre-reading, reading, and reviewing. Students learn strategies such as previewing, predicting, questioning, summarizing, reflecting, and annotating. The chapter also highlights the importance of critical reading and annotating in academic learning. For the evaluation question, what is strategy reading? Why is critical reading important? And how can annotations improve understanding? In the chapter 2, Reading Information, this chapter focuses on reading informational text critically. It explains that texts do not always present absolute truth because authors have different perspectives and purpose. The chapter also discusses the role of feedback in improving academic writing and understanding argument. For the evaluating question in this chapter, do texts always present fact objectively? The second is how can reader analyze information text critically? The last is why is feedback important in writing? In the chapter 3, Reading Narrative Text, this chapter discusses storytelling and narrative text. Story help people understand identity, experience, and social connection. Narrative theory explains how stories are structured and why storytelling is useful both personal and professional communication. Evaluating question: what is the function of storytelling? Why are narrative texts important? How is storytelling used professionally? In the chapter 4, Reading Academic Texts. This chapter explains how to read academic article and scholarly source effectively. It introduced the main part of academic articles such as abstract, introduction, method, result, and discussion. The chapter also emphasized rhetorical reading and analytical thinking. Evaluating question: what are the main parts of academic article? Why are scholar source difficult? And the last one, how can students better understand academic texts? The last chapter, the reading-writing connection. This chapter highlights the close relationship between reading and writing. Critical readers do not only react to text but also respond analytical. Reading critically helps students develop stronger argument and more effective academic writing. Evaluating question: what is the relationship between reading and writing? What is the difference between reacting and responding? And why is critical reading important for writing? In the conclusion, the book emphasized that reading is an active and strategic process. Using appropriate reading strategy can improve comprehension, critical thinking, and academic writing skill. I think that's all about review from the books.